Alright, in this lightburn tutorial, we're going to go through tracing of like a logo or something that might be more complicated or something that we might want to edit. And I'm going to show you a different website that might be useful for you. So where we're going to go is we are now, instead of doing image R, we're going to go off to this website called VectorDad. Alright, and so at the top of VectorDad, there's all these tools: line art, stencil, silhouette maker, image vectorizer, vector editor, all of these options. So let's go to line art generator. Alright, so when you click on it, it's going to take you to load image to outline. Click that big green button there. And then what you can do is we can upload an image. So let's go find one. So I've downloaded some images. So alright, I've got my cat. I've got the National Science Foundation logo, okay? And so I've already converted that one. I've got some of our funders, things like that. Let's do the NSF logo. So here's my National Science Foundation logo because it's a little complicated, okay? So notice when I load it in, it automatically converts it, okay? And you can go, oh, is that pretty good? All right, and so you can adjust these settings and go, oh, is that cleaner? That looks cleaner, doesn't it? All right. And you go, yeah, I think that might be cleaner. And you look at it and you go, yeah. All right. The one disadvantage of this website is you have to remember where you kind of had the slider bar. If I move it back over here, notice I've got these little extra bars here. I'm going to go here. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Let's adjust the thickness. Oh, that went too far. I got rid of the globe. Oh, nope, I started adding more in. All right, brightness, let's make it darker, lighter. Yeah, I don't think adjusting the brightness that way makes a ton of difference. I started to get a few little extras as I added it too dark. And so it's basically converting it into a line art. Okay, so I think we're doing pretty well. I think I've got most everything that I want. I kind of want to get this continent. There's a South America right here because the logo, NSF's logo, is a globe. And notice I'm missing a line right here. And so maybe if I can adjust my thickness a little bit more, I can get it. But I want to have that circle. Alright, so it looks like I'm going to be stuck with some of these guys and maybe a little bit of that. Looks like I've got Cuba is really big in there. Yeah, I need to keep the details. Okay, so once I feel like that I've got it as kind of cleaned up as I can try these different settings of sharp. That didn't work. Smooth. Yeah, outline I think is not that great either. I don't like this versus that. I want that to be symmetrical. So I think I'll leave it as outline. Yeah, if I clean it a little bit, sometimes that's just cleaning is kind of reducing the noise. That might be as good as I can get. All right, so now I'm going to download it as an SVG file. So that's already a vector file. So now let's download that. Okay, there it is. All right, so vector design 9. Okay, so let's go into my file. I'm going to import it in Lightburn. There it is. And I'm going to open. So here's my NSF logo. All right. So let's see how I want to edit this. Okay, so notice I've got a couple of missing tops here, right here, and right here. All right. And I've got these rogue little guys here. So first thing I'm going to want to do is when you import a vector file, it's not grouped. Notice I can click on things. Okay, so you have to be careful not to accidentally drag stuff someplace else. But that means I can go in and I can delete all of these little rogue curly cues that I don't already have. Okay, so I go, that all looks pretty good. I'm going to get rid of that one. All right, I've got my North America. I think I'll delete that one. South America, this is probably reasonable on how I want it. And so here's my letter F. Here's my letter S. Here's my letter N. Okay, so I think what I want to do is I think I want to make my letter N, S, and F. I think I want to have those to be fills. So I'm going to actually put them in layer 2, right? Because I've imported it into my same file, but I could just make them a fill. So now, if I go look at this, I've got my NSF, right on top, and everything else is aligned. All right. So I also could potentially go in and make, say, all of these guys also in layer 2. And now if I go look at it, right, that doesn't really make a big difference. So I go, okay, so that's probably not worth it. But let's maybe, if I wanted to do this, I wanted to make that inside as a fill. Let's see how that works. All right, so now that fills that in. So I go, yeah, I don't think I like that either. All right, so let's go back. So you can just Control Z, boop. But that's how you can edit the individual images. I do like having my NSF field. Okay. All right, so it looks like I think I want to get rid of that little rogue square there. Oh, there's another one. Any other rogue ones? So that's looking pretty good. All right. So now what to do about these two right here. All right. So there's some tricks that you can do in lightburn. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to get a little rectangle. Okay. And I'm going to draw a little rectangle. I'm just going to connect those two little guys right there. And I'm going to make it roughly the size of this little rectangle here. So now, if I go over here to my little white selector, I'm going to click on this guy, and I'm going to click on the other side. All right, these two now are selected, so both sides. And I'm going to select my red square, or rectangle. Now over here, I've got these tools. These are Boolean tools. So I can subtract, I can add, I can mix, I can weld. What I'm going to do is I'm going to weld these guys together. That's the top one. And bingo. Okay. Now, if you wanted to see what would happen if I did something else, okay, so let's say I tried to, I'll do it in another video actually. It won't work very well for this one. So let's weld them. Boom. Perfect. All right, now let's go weld this one together. And I do the same thing. Little square. Okay, I made them a little bigger, so let's shrink them down just a smidgen. Okay, let's click and let's weld. Boom. All right. Oh, I went over a little bit. Okay. Now, here's a challenge. Once you weld, notice, look what happens when I edit nodes. I can't edit because now I've welded. I've changed the geometry a bit. So I have to go back Control Z, all right, before the weld to edit the nodes. Or I have to go in and make sure that I get this guy, right, inside my drawing. So now if I click, and now if I go over here to weld, I can weld. But now I can do my Boolean. Now watch what happens when I union. Okay. Now let's Control Z that. And now watch the subtraction. Right? It subtracted that chunk of that rectangle from the main surface, because now this one and this one is the same, right? It's one object. So now I can subtract. So let's Control Z. Now, what's this one when I intersect? I'm only left with where they overlap. Pretty cool. So now let's Control Z again. All right, so now I'm going to weld them together. All right. So, am I happy with that? Not really. So again, let's do a little editing. So I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Yeah, let's put it right there. Okay. So now, let's see if I'm happy with this weld. Yeah, I think I'm going to be good with that. All right. All right. So now I have converted my NSF logo, which normally would look like this, which actually it would be a bit of a challenge. To engrave, you can do it, but this is going to be a lot faster, and it'll also probably end up looking a little nicer because the shading here between the continents and the world is it's tight, right? You can do it, but it might take it might take 2 or 3 practice runs to get it right, particularly when you're first beginning. But here, now when I look at this in the preview mode, I go, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. The one thing I'm not happy with is that in right there, where that kind of bounces out over there, right, where that is kind of filled in right there. I think that's an artifact of that in, but I think I'm pretty okay with how that might look. So let's preview that. Let's see. Oh, I think it might be because all my blacks are fills. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change all of my blues to a different line. So since I'm not going to want my black to be a cutout, I'm actually going to make that a new layer. I'm going to convert that to, say, let's make one that's visible. 9. Okay, now I've got a new line. And I'm going to change my line settings to 1440. So it's just going to do a little trace out of what NSF will look like. And since I selected everything, I'm going to have to go back in here and I'm going to reselect my NSFs. And I'm going to put those back into 2 as a fill. Okay. Now, I think that will fix my little glitch. There we go. So that did it. So again, this is why you always preview it. If something doesn't quite look right, that probably means you messed something up in the preview. So my image is going to be a little trace. And I have my NSF engraved. Pretty cool. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to group it, arrange group, because then I don't have to worry about accidentally, tearing it apart. And then I can shrink it back down. And if I want it on my name tag, I can easily shrink it to the size that I want. And I can put it in my name tag. And I can center it right in the middle of my name tag by clicking on both of them and vertically aligning it. And there I have my name tag. And now if I look and I preview it, that's what it will look like. Pretty cool. Awesome. And now my cuts and layers over here are now a little bit more of a mess. So you can decide over here which ones you might want. If you don't want one, let's say that image, original one, you just highlight the layer you don't want and you just trash it. And it'll ask you, are you sure you want to? Okay. Boom. Yes, I do. Now, the one thing that is of immense importance is oftentimes you want your line. So this blue one right here is going to be my cut line. That's going to cut out my little name tag. You always want it last. Okay. And so I'm not going to have my cat here, so that's going to go away. And this image right here, I'm going to delete him so he goes away. Okay. And so it's going to do black. It's going to do my Iron Man first. Then it's going to fill my cat. My image. That image is my NSF image. So I don't want that one anymore. Let's delete that one. All right. So now my cuts and layers are a little less hectic. Okay. All right. All right. So now I've got my fill. This is the text. And this is sometimes why it's useful when you double click on it to give them names. So that way, over here, you can instantly see what they are. All right, so cat. And so this layer here is my NSF logo outline as my name. And my blue is my cutout. The cutout line should always be last because the laser goes from top to bottom. The reason why it needs to be last is if you move it up, if it was first, if your wood has any work to it, it'll fall a little bit and your alignment might be out of order. And the worst thing is that if you have it in the middle and then you have like maybe this line goes over it, is that if things get out of line just a little bit, you're going to ruin your job. You don't want that to happen. So I always make sure that my cut line is the last one. Okay. That's it. Now you just save it, send it to the laser.